now, a breaking news alert from News 9 WAOW.
We are starting with some breaking news this morning. A large fire in Schofield that appears to be at an apartment building. News 9's Jimmy Sadowski has been there on the scene for the last hour or so. Jimmy, you were sending us some videos and pictures. The flames were pretty big not that long ago. What's it looking like right now?
Yeah, again, Sadie, they were large when I got here. When I did the last live shot, they went down a bit, and then in between, they went up again, and now they're down. So I don't know if the fire's reigniting maybe and catching fire in different parts of the apartment complex. That could be happening. I don't know. I haven't been able to really talk to any firefighters. They're very busy. Several agencies are here from Edgar all the way to Ringel. A lot of very heavy presence. I can show you right now what we're looking at. We got a truck there, a couple more over here. A lot of firefighters, police as well. And then they broke out the ladder here, and if you take a look, they're using a little box at the top here with a light shining down. Obviously, as you can imagine, if there's a lot of smoke, very tough conditions to monitor in there and try and contain, so might need an additional source of light. Now, I'll take you over here. I did talk to one firefighter, and he told me he couldn't comment on if anyone's still inside, and I tried to get in close, and he pushed me back. So I can't really talk to too many people right now, but if I get any more updates, I'll give you those coming up in Wake Up. Back to you.
News 9's Jimmy Sadowski has been on the scene for about 2 hours now. Jimmy, I know you've kind of been seeing flames and then smoke and then flames again. Where are we at right now?
Well, luckily, Sadie, I haven't seen any visible flames reignite, but the smoke is very thick. This is near the office bar in Schofield. I'm still on the same sort of deck, raised platform, maybe stage. So I have an elevated view of it. I have a tree kind of blocking my sight a little bit, but I haven't seen any flames. Not too much new information other than I did try and talk to another firefighter, and I got pushed back again. And he didn't have any details to offer. They're still working really hard on it. About the same presence here. Something else that's new, a couple WPS crews came through, seem to be working on some of the electrical, checking things out there. Not much else. So if I get any new information, new details, I'll check back in with you later in the show. Back to you. Good morning, Sadie. All of our area is in some sort of elevated fire danger. Most of it is high to very high, so I reached out to the Wisconsin Rapids Fire Department to find out how you can prevent fires like these from happening. The fire danger is very high in Wood County, where I talked with Fire Marshal Brennan Agan. He told me the lack of rain along with higher winds up that danger. Agan says if you're starting a fire, make sure you clean up the area around it, especially fallen leaves and other brush, along with any other hazards. That's so a secondary fire isn't sparked. For any activity where you burn, he says try to have a hose on standby so you can put it out quick if it gets out of hand, or just go by his rule of thumb.
If you don't have to burn, don't be burning right now. Unless it's for a warming or cooking fire, it's probably the most reason to have a fire right now.
In situations like these, the fire department does not have to bring in, say, extra staffing, but they have crews ready for fires at any time. Agan says he's thankful fire dangers are not extreme because then the smallest thing can spark a fire, like chainsaw work in the woods. You can go to the link right here on your screen to check fire risk and burn restrictions in your neck of the woods. It'll also be on our website. Agan told me that the fire risk should lessen after the next time we get some more rain. He's hoping that sooner rather than later. Stay tuned for Justin's full forecast to see what's on the way. Back to you guys. Good morning, Jake. Wood County Human Services, along with the help of the Wisconsin Elder Justice Coalition, is building a FAST. That stands for Financial Abuse Specialist Team, and it's meant to serve older and vulnerable adults that are the target of a lot of these scams. And it's definitely needed with over 90 cases of financial exploitation in the county just last year. When I sat down with the Deputy Director of Wood County Human Services, Katie Mylock, who's helping head this up, She said scammers are only getting more advanced. They're preying upon feelings of loneliness with romance scams and fears, say by using AI to fake their grandchild's voice and telling them they're in danger. The new team will have people from all different agencies, including local law enforcement, financial institutions, and even the Ho-Chunk Nation. That should give them a much-needed edge.
APS might run into a barrier and law enforcement can say, oh, we can do that, like we can jump in here. And then the banks might say, oh, well, we could have shared this information that would help speed along the investigation. It just opens up communication, which is the barrier right now.
For an adult to be considered vulnerable, they would have something like developmental disabilities, severe or persistent mental illness, a degenerative brain disorder, or a condition where they're incapacitated. Planning for this only started a few months ago, and a lot of the specifics are still being ironed out. The amount of times they'll meet will depend upon how many cases they're dealing with and what else they're working on. If you're looking to contribute to the team in some way, we'll have info on our website, WAOW.com. Back to you guys. Good morning, Jake. Several places in our area, including Newbold, Presque Isle, and where I went yesterday, Lake Tomahawk, have these ordinances. They ban ballast tanks that make wakes significantly larger. I went to North Two Lakes, where there's been an ordinance since July. About a year ago, somebody brought a boat with a ballast tank on the lake, and it damaged one of the sandbars. Repairing a sandbar can be costly, so that's when the town started doing some research. They found the larger wakes can also affect water clarity, and the tanks can hold a bit of residual water. That means if one lake has invasive species and the boat is brought to another lake, they can transfer. And these tanks pack a real punch.
It's the equivalent of putting an F-150 truck on the back of the boat. That's how much thrust and power goes down 20, 25, maybe even 30 feet in some cases. So there's your agitation to your bottom of the lake, your vegetation, etc.
Opponents of these ordinances question why these are just being put into place in many communities now, since wake boats have been on lakes for years. They also call for more research. For a town like Lake Tomahawk, it was an easier decision because there was clear damage from the enhanced wakes to that sandbar. Again, creating ordinances is up to each and every city and township in Wisconsin. With no lake the same in the Badger State, town officials like the ones from Lake Tomahawk think it should stay that way. Coming up, you'll get to hear from a town supervisor. Back to you guys. Good morning, Jake. I did, in fact, see a giant pumpkin, and these pumpkin growers put a ton of dedication into making a competitive crop day in and day out. I got the chance to check out Merle and Kathy Cochran's garden, where they're growing their giant pumpkin. They're a husband and wife team that decided to get into growing 2 years ago. They pulled it out on the crane while I was there, and growing is a lot of work. You have to be meticulous about taking care of your pumpkin. Kathy's advice is have a mentor to show you the ropes. She's the one who really got them into it, and while the official term might be pumpkin grower, she fancies herself more of a pumpkin nurturer.
It's coming out every day and seeing it, putting its blanket on at night when it's cold, watching its growth.
Before they lifted the pumpkin out, I got to get my hands dirty and see just how heavy it was. I'm gonna try and give it a lift here. Yeah, this thing ain't moving. This thing's probably at least 300 pounds, very, very big. So guys, you ever see a giant pumpkin before or try and lift it like I did?
No, unless you count watching Great Pumpkin by Charlie Brown as the
good one,
pumpkin.
classic,
Yeah.
love it.
No, I have not.
I don't think I've ever seen anything near that big pumpkin-wise.
No, it was the first time for me.
Yeah. I think, though, Jimmy, you got to give yourself a little bit of credit because nobody's as strong as a crane, so don't expect you to be able to pick that
that's
thing
true.
up when...
Yeah.
No, sometimes man can beat machine, though. You never know.
Sometimes. Maybe
Not
next
me.
year we'll get you out, instead of dropping them from the cranes, we'll get you out just tossing them for the pumpkin smash.
We'll see. If I become the Hulk, maybe.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jimmy.
Appreciate you guys. Good morning, Jake. Sooner rather than later. That's the case for a lot of things, and for planning air travel, it's no different. Now, that being said, there is some strategy for when to book a flight. CWA Airport Director Brian Griefey says Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are the best times to fly and book flights typically. Those are the airport's slow travel days. Booking 4 to 6 weeks in advance also cuts down on cost. There's a few other factors, too.
Supply and demand both on the outgoing flight, but then the returning flight as well. So there's plenty of seats available on both. You see a little bit better price. If there's a lot of seats available on one and not the other, see a decent price. But if you're getting that last seat on both flights, prices are generally a bit higher.
If you're not sure what you can bring, look at the travel guide on TSA's website and ask gate agents. Gifts need to be unwrapped, and if you have any food that's considered a liquid, gel, or aerosol, for the most part, it won't be allowed in your checked bag. The only exceptions with liquids like gravy, they can be frozen. Brian tells me he expects the weekend after Thanksgiving to be the busiest time here because it coincides with the end of gun deer season here in Wisconsin. So plan accordingly. Back to you guys.